everyone, it's JG here with EARTH-5D University, back for another teaching where you are the light, the path, and the way forward, friends. It's so nice to have you here today. I'm really excited today to be talking about the divine feminine, the essence of the divine feminine today. We're going to talk about what it is, what it isn't, and how you know you are carrying a real heavy impulse of divine feminine inside of you and what to do about it, okay? And I just want to lay some foundational thoughts out there because I've noticed, you've noticed maybe, that the divine feminine has been sort of, not only has it been suppressed, but as it's coming back, there's a lot of confusion about what it is and what it isn't. And I see a lot of energy out there that really is not divine feminine, that's sort of masquerading as that. And so I really want to bring forward my experience of what it is. You know, I have had a lot of experience in this lifetime understanding what the divine feminine is, you know, and in many others. And so me on this journey of 52 years, it's been about remembering, right? And going through a lot of the ups and downs and the trials and errors of learning what it is and what it isn't, and finding my true north, right? Finding my true place within that divine feminine energy and balancing it with the masculine. So let's, right here in this day and age, so let's get into it. So glad you're here, and make sure you you guys make a comment down below if you have questions. I know that some of you are shy, you're a little reserved, kind of like me. I don't normally comment on videos, but if you're feeling energized about something or charged, or you think you could share something in your own life that would help others, I really encourage you to do that. It only helps the collective to share information that that you feel is true for you, okay? And most importantly, that you've had experience with, because that's really the essence, right? Is we can learn things all day and all night, but and process that in our mind. But when you actually live it, that's when everything sort of sinks in, and you get to learn from experience and the good and the bad and the ugly, right? So the divine feminine that I have noticed in my reality is very aligned to the highest version of ourself, okay? And so there's different aspects of ourself, right? There's a sliding scale of how our vibration is existing on the earth, right? And so sometimes it's existing in the lower dimensions, right? When we're engaged in jealousy, when we're engaged in shame, pain, and fear, when we're engaged in energy that is sort of less than positive, right? A lot of that is guilt, shame, fear, pain, and jealousy and rage, okay? And manipulate. And then there's different offshoots of behavior that kind of comes from those frequencies. So when we're talking about the divine feminine, we're talking about not being in that energy. And so it's a journey to embrace the divine feminine. The divine feminine lives within all things, male and female. And so it's sort of a natural balance on the earth of it's an impulse that lives on the earth, and it's a feminine energy in its closest form to the divine. So when we say divine feminine, we're not joking, right? We're talking about the divine aspects of the feminine. We're talking about love, not lust. We're talking about compassion, not being a victim, right? Or not feeling sorry for someone. We're talking about love, compassion. We're talking about beauty. We're talking about grace. We're talking about dignity. Talking about dignity. Okay, and dignity, I would say the opposite of dignity is perversion. So we're talking about grace, dignity, compassion, kindness, strength, okay? And beauty. And so those are aspects of nature, right? Mother Nature, and aspects of all beings on earth. And we are looking to embrace that here on earth, okay? And the divine feminine is not a slave. The divine feminine is not trying to be a man. A divine feminine is not looking to be the masculine. Okay, and the divine feminine is not manipulative. She doesn't need to lie to get what she wants. She doesn't need to lie to herself to get what she wants. She doesn't need to play games. The divine feminine doesn't need to pretend and lie and coerce, okay? Because the truth of it, the matter is the strength comes from within you. And it's the divine nature that you have and you possess that helps you to stay close to the Creator. And if you don't believe in Christ and the Christ consciousness, or if you don't resonate with the Christ consciousness, then it helps you stay close to the energy of love and compassion, simply strength and beauty. And so I am speaking from the Christ consciousness because that's been my experience. Some of you guys know that I had a conversion experience when, you could call it a kundalini, you know, that's the trendy word for it, awakening experience when I was like 19 or 20, but it was the Christ consciousness that came to me and just showed me just complete love and acceptance. And this love was so profound that I couldn't, you know, I couldn't use a swear word because I felt how painful that was to the divine. You know, I didn't want to engage in like any kind of sexual activity, no alcohol. I mean, I just wanted to keep it like, oh my gosh, you could say Susie Sunshine, but I just wanted to keep it divine. And of course that does wear off. That wore off when I was a 20-year-old. So 30 years have passed since then, you know? And so I've seen many, many, many aspects of myself, right? Because we see only life through our own lens, right? So not only is the divine feminine those things, and not only is the divine feminine not those things, you know, there's a lot of human characteristics and human situations that we're like engaged in here on the streets, right? It's almost like, I almost think and feel sometimes that we are literally like in a combat situation. So how do you be compassionate when you're in a combat situation, right? How do you remain loving? And I'm certain that that's what Jesus was teaching us, right? Jesus was the prototype of how to behave when you're under fire. And the fire that you're under is not God. It's the opposite of God. It's the energy that would like to separate you from godliness, divinity, and your soul. Okay, because our souls are one. Our souls living within us. And our souls are one with all of creation. And so while we're here on earth, you know, the dark evil energy would like to separate you from your soul and your knowledge of who you are. So that sort of leads us off the divine trail, right? And believe me, I've done it, right? I had to know what the divine feminine isn't to know what it is. So the divine feminine is not perverse. She doesn't need to play in that energy of perversion. And what I really want to hone in on now is how you kind of know that you are a divine feminine and that is an impulse that's growing inside of you. That is an archetype growing inside of you and an energy that you are hungry to embrace. And possibly it could be that is the reason why you're here on earth, is to embrace the divine feminine and help teach it to others, to help not only teach it, but to really live it, okay? It's the energy of living it on the daily, on the reg, right? And so I'm gonna do more videos on this, all right? But I wanna really zero in now and hone in on how you know know that you are really focused on the impulse of being a divine feminine and the sort of perversion, because one of the largest ways on earth today that sort of like the darker evil energy keeps the divine feminine away from the divine, away from the divinity, and this is inside males and females, is by reducing us to our sexual nature. it reduces the divine feminine to only being sexual. And so what happens is, if the divine feminine is reduced to only being sexual, then that's all that matters. Suddenly there is no focus on anything else but the sexual aspect of the feminine. And that's inside a male as well as a female. And so when we sexualize or over focus on that, any strength over focused becomes a weakness, right? Anything over focused on becomes a weakness. And so the weakness now has been over sexualizing the feminine, and to that's all that it is. And if we don't look sexy, and if we aren't if we lose our beauty, our youth, then we are reduced to sort of injecting ourselves with plastics, injecting ourselves with false body parts, right? To try and obtain and hold on to that sexual nature of a female. And I understand how it happened, right? I get how it happened. I get why you, I, and others have had to focus on that our lifetime. But it's to truly embrace the power of the feminine. Something more is necessary, okay? We can't reduce ourselves just to our sexuality and to our outer beauty. We just can't. It's denying too many other important parts of self, like compassion, like strength, like wisdom, empathy. Okay, without those aspects, without teaching the world about that, without embodying that ourselves, without generosity and unity, generosity and especially unity is a feminine energy. It's the energy of bringing together, right? And so how we became this way quickly in a couple minutes is, it's very primal in the sense of, since the Noah's Ark story, right? Since the flood, since women and men have had to fight for their actual physical survival, because men have been physically stronger throughout our life here on Earth, the way that they're built, right? That's changing now. But because in the past, 90% of the time, the man was physically stronger, right? And so women had to fight one another for survival, because we needed to make sure that a man found us attractive, to care for us and protect us, and even into this day and age, right? Even into 2020s. Some women, they have to count on a man for their survival, right? They either choose to or they have to. But whatever, that's not really part of this debate right now, but women have typically had to count on a man for their survival. And until women cannot be slaves to that energy, we're going to have a lot of trouble having the strength to come together with that unity, come together with that empathy and compassion and love, and actually stand in a place of extreme power in our society. Because there's too many of us fighting with each other for favor with the man, favor with the patriarchy. And so women, and which I'm not interested in at all, and this is a combative energy of fighting with other women to be smart, to be noticed by a man, and then be embraced by the man and be safe and protected in the career, in the home, whatever it is. But it's reduced women to being only these sexual objects now that are only focused on, procreation and that aspect of physical beauty for survival. And as soon as you lose that, many times it's like the woman is cast to the side. The woman doesn't want to age, and the woman is cast to the side. And that's it. She's all washed up. That's it. And so it's more important than ever to dig way deeper into the feminine and bring that to the surface. I'm not saying being beautiful isn't a huge part of it. It's just that if it's over focused on beauty and sexuality with the atrophy of the other qualities, then we're way too off balance. And so women have been reduced to fight with other women for security and stability. And I don't see that has changed too much. Even though we aren't really required to have a male energy in our lives to survive, right? We don't really need, quote unquote, a man to survive anymore. However, women are still gunning for other women based on physical appearance. And so we need to really consider what that means. And we need to consider what it means to bring ourselves forward in a way that embodies and embraces more of who we are. And a really great place to start is by understanding your connection to God's source energy. And you can ask yourself, when I do this, X, Y, and Z, does that make me feel closer to God's source energy? Does that make me feel closer to my inherent power? Or does that somehow take me away from it? Super great measure to start to have these conversations with yourself. So to know that you're a divine feminine and really living this impulse, you're going to have a lot of sensitivities around this. You're going to feel pretty frustrated if you have to fight other women for a man, if you're not able to use your power like you'd like to, like you have a real strong voice and you can't even understand why it wouldn't be heard, like why you actually would even need a man for survival, because in the most balanced divine masculine and feminine existences, both the energies come together in such a mutual way that there just is no like weirdness there, right? There's no weirdness. So another reason that you might identify with being a divine feminine is like you can't stand perversion with your sexuality. You just can't stand perverse things. I'm not saying you didn't experience it or you haven't experienced it in your life, but maybe you feel like really not good about it, or only focusing on the sexualization of yourself or other women. It could just drive you crazy because you just see so much more that's missing in that equation. Another way to know that you are divine feminine is you're a warrior. You might have been born into a situation where you really had to fight for your survival, fight for your emotional survival, fight for your physical possibly survival. And that's really was necessary in this day and age because there were so many strong battles to fight in the beginning. And so we are really, if you were a Gen Xer or even a little older, or some of these divine feminine seeds were planted in the 60s and they got sort of distorted. So there are some baby boomers that carry, of course, this energy. And it's sort of really getting the opportunity to come forward. So we are not trying to be men. This isn't about feminism, right? This is about learning to be truly divine. And so we have to swing a little bit into balance. So if we've gone into extreme perversion and inequality, right, we need to kind of do a big pendulum swing in the other direction towards our divinity. And we're not doing that to be like purists, or we're not doing that to be like Pollyanna, and we're not doing that to not be human. We sort of have to do that to sort of course correct and find some balance. And so it's really important to think about your connection to source. And is what I am doing taking my power away from my divine nature? Am I manipulating? Am I getting jealous? Am I finding myself in my lower nature? Am I guilting and shaming myself? Am I competing with other women for male attention because I don't feel that I'm good enough? Am I shaming myself? Am I engaged in self-hatred, right? And so like all of those aspects are it's okay to face them, it's all right. But we need to sort of face those aspects of self and gently bring ourselves towards our divinity by doing things and thinking things and being in a way that is aligned to God, our source energy, and our divinity. And so that would be the opposite of some of the darker energies on this planet. So we're not rejecting the earth. We are in this earth, but we aren't of it, right? Just like Jesus said. So we're not rejecting our sexuality. We're not rejecting our emotional nature. We're not rejecting our feelings. It's quite contrary. We're accepting all those things as part of ourselves. And also, what else, right? We're accepting who we are and what else. And so if you were born as a warrior, right, into a situation where you had to sort of fight for your survival, if you've always been just sort of in love with God's source energy, and you've just sort of always wanted to be compassionate and loving, if you've always sort of known your inner strength, you've known it, it's there, you know, you are carrying a strong impulse of the divine feminine, right? And if you're a man and you're thinking about these things as well, you're thinking about unity consciousness, you're thinking about love, you're thinking about compassion, then getting your divine feminine and balance too is going to help you on your journey. So that is some food for thought today. I'm going to continue to do discussions and about the divine feminine because it's so important today to really nurture this energy and this impulse, this archetype within us, so that we can raise the vibration on the planet and move ourselves out of this only being, you know, sexual and only looking at the outside of us. What about what's inside? What about what the divine feminine contributes to humanity on the global level, in the home, the microcosm, in the home, safe. The Divine Mother is safety. Wrapping in that mantle, right, of love and safety. Feeding, right? A non-toxic environment, right? That's what we're really looking for here. All right, well, thank you so much for being here and listening to the very end. I'm sending you guys so much love and light. If you have questions, feel free to drop them down below. I definitely read all the comments. And I'm sending you so much love and light. Take good care.